Hello and welcome to the show. It is time once again for another episode of the Culture Update. And thank you so much for joining me. For those of you who are regulars on the show, welcome back. And for those of you who are new, my name is Vanna J. And this show is brought to you by the Culture Creators. Special shout out to all the culture creators, and make sure you all subscribe on their channel, like their Facebook page, their Instagram, and all of their social media. The Culture Creators is responsible for bringing you this culture update, so special shouts out to them. We have a great show for you today, guys. I'm so glad to be back with you on this Sunday, and it is time to just jump straight into all the crazy business. You know, on this show, I like to bring you updates to not only the culture and what's affecting the culture, but also I like to try to learn something new, not only for myself, but I like to try to teach new things to people, something you might not have known or maybe only know a little bit about and you want to hear a little bit more. And one of those things that we're going to talk about today on the top of the show is a drug called fentanyl. And I don't know if you're how familiar you might be with fentanyl or what you know about it, but it is something that is seriously affecting not only the Black community, but the human community at large, if I'm just being flat out and honest. So fentanyl, what is it and why is it so dangerous and why is it being talked about so much now? Well, it's a synthetic drug and it comes in several different forms. Really, honestly, it comes in almost all forms. You can take fentanyl in a pill form. It can be crushed up into a powder form. It can be in a liquid-like form. It can also be in the form of candy, like a lollipop. There was actually a fentanyl documentary that I watched one time that doctors were prescribing fentanyl in like suckers, lollipops to their patients for pain relief. And this was before we understood so much about it. So now it has become a widely known street drug. And let me just read you a little bit about fentanyl. It's reportedly the leading cause of fatalities in most drug overdoses. And according to the Centers for Disease Control, in less than 10 years, drugs laced with fentanyl have been on an alarming rise, and the death toll from those who use the drug has become a major concern. According to the national opioid crisis, they have discussed at length throughout the last few years, but more recently, researchers have linked opioid usage and opioid overdoses to fentanyl. So this is what's happening. Literally, in addition to being mixed with heroin, it can also be mixed with morphine, codeine, and other opioids. Fentanyl is also regularly showing up in marijuana and especially cocaine, which means that death rates from overdoses are going to be directly traced to the drugs being laced with fentanyl. And once again, we're talking about street drugs. So obviously, you know, you're not going to have a big concern if you're buying marijuana from a dispensary or if it's legal or medical. However, if you're getting it off the street, it could very well be laced. Don't forget what happened to Smokey in Friday. He was running down the street going crazy because he got laced with what, angel dust or PCP or whatever it was that was in his joint, and he didn't know. That can really happen. So you really have to be careful. Just look at the screen right now. These are the many forms and many ways that you can find fentanyl and the forms that it can take. Once again, we talked about powder. If you look right here at this little, I don't know what you want to call it, little graph, little chart, little photo, it's actually showing you the amount. I think the first vial there is heroin. It's showing you that's how much heroin is equal to a very small amount of fentanyl. Same with the rest of those drugs you see, and then all the forms that it comes in. It's just so scary. So I'm going to go a little bit further into this because it's really serious and people need to understand. So if you know someone on drugs of any kind, whether that be they've just been smoking crack since the 80s, or they are dabbling in, you know, little nose candy, they need to understand that it's not what it was anymore. Okay, it's not just, yeah, you can go get some cocaine and you're safe. No, your cocaine could have fentanyl, which it could be lethal at any point. Your crack could have fentanyl. Your meth can have fentanyl. Your heroin can have fentanyl, and that is something that is synthetic. It is 50 to 100 times more potent. Let me find that statistic really quick. It says that a government report was recently released confirming that in 2020, there were reportedly 93,000 overdose deaths in the United States, translating to 29% increase from 2019 of fentanyl, overdoses of fentanyl. And the estimated overdose deaths were 72,000 in 2019. And almost half of those deaths were fentanyl related. So half of 29% of overdose deaths have been fentanyl related in the year 2020. So it just goes to show how crazy it is. Here's putting things into perspective. Morphine being one of the strongest drugs around, we all know that. And fentanyl, which is what we're talking about, is 50 to 100 times stronger than morphine. So you can only imagine, if your drugs are being laced with fentanyl, not only are you going to be addicted in a major way, but you are most likely going to have an overdose and die. Unfortunately, it's just a high fatality rate. So for those of you who don't know or never heard of fentanyl, please be aware of it. I know the opioid crisis is still a thing. It's still around. It's still going on. And opioids are being laced with fentanyl. And it's something that has not always existed. This is something that's fairly new within the last, I would say, maybe even 5 to 10 years. So this is something that I think people should be aware of. I think even if you know someone, like I said, who's maybe been on drugs for years, now would be the time to really urge them to get off of those drugs, especially if they're street drugs, because people are putting fentanyl and really killing folks. And the reason why they do it is because it's cheaper, and it gives the same high effects that these other drugs do, but they can basically get it for cheaper, and they can lace their cocaine or lace whatever they have with this fentanyl, and it saves them money and stretches their drugs longer. And, it's very, very, very dangerous. So I just wanted to bring this up. I wanted people to be aware of fentanyl and, how it's getting out there. And it's truly just getting out there through any and every possible street drug that there is. And I think everyone should take the time to learn about it, be aware of it, understand it. And I think the opioid crisis is not going to be the only thing that we're going to be focusing on in the near future. I think fentanyl is going to be something that there's going to be a major shift towards and focus on. And when it comes to the drug war, quote unquote, the crisis of drugs in the United States. So let me know what you think. What do you know about fentanyl? What are your experiences, or what have you heard about it? Drop me some comments. Let me know. Do you know of anyone that's had an experience with fentanyl, whether they were prescribed it back in the earlier days or whether it be off the street? And if you need help, we can also provide a hotline in the comments as well. I know a lot of times when we talk about stuff like that, like suicide or drugs, we like to leave some sort of a hotline or something that you guys can hit up if you need more information or if you know anyone that needs help. So I will make sure that happens for you guys. All right, let's move on. I promised you that I was going to go in on Drake on this show, and I think it's high tide and time I do it. So as you all know, Drake has released his latest album, and it was much anticipated album. A lot of people were really looking forward to it. I know, as a Drake fan, as a longtime Drake fan, I was very much looking forward to the new album titled Certified Lover Boy, aka CLB, and it had just dropped this past week. And I'm telling you, there have been a lot of mixed reviews I've heard from other people on this album, but I wanted to give you all my rundown, my shakedown, my skinny on Drake, because like I said, I've been a longtime fan of Drake. I've attended concerts, bought albums, the whole 9 yards. I'm just a big fan. However, this album right here, boy, threw me for a loop. I'm not going to lie. First of all, I'll start at the very beginning. Whenever I found out that this album was coming out, I saw the album cover with rose petals instead of the pregnant emoji woman. Then when I realized it was actually pregnant emoji women and that was the real cover, it wasn't just a joke, I was like flabbergasted. I was like, seriously, Drake, first of all, how old are we? Second of all, what are you trying to say? So you're a certified lover boy, so you're all about just going out and impregnating women? Like, I don't get the joke or the whatever behind this cover art. I think it's leaves something to be desired, could have been something more. It touches on the little bit of a misogynistic side to me, and I'll go back to that misogynistic, I'll spread more about that later, but I'm just saying the cover, Oh, please. I'm not impressed. Okay, I'll start with the cover. I'm very not impressed with the cover. Okay, so now that I know my producer's waiting for me to talk about it. Let's move to the song list. Let's just go straight to the track list. And I did listen to the CD, and we'll go to the first few songs. And I just want to give you a breakdown because honestly, I feel like some of the songs were okay. I downloaded a few of them, and then others I was so confused as to what I was even listening to. One of the major issues that I had with some of the first few tracks were about the features that he had on the track. So let's look at this list. Champagne Poetry, I thought it was decent. Felt like it was anything, it was all right. Poppy's Home, I disliked. The reason why I disliked Poppy's Home was because the entire song, he's saying daddy's home in the song. And I get it. Poppy and daddy mean the same thing. But if the song is daddy's home, then call the song daddy's home. If the song is Poppy's home, then sing Poppy's home in the song. It only makes sense. It's not that difficult. So that got on my nerves. Girls Want Girls. I was really hoping that this song was going to give me what I wanted because I agree with the sentiment that girls want girls or girls like girls. And I will say that it didn't get me there. I would say I was about a 6 on a 1 to 10 on the Girls Want Girls. I thought he could have given me a little more. I would have loved for this song to feature a woman. It would have been great with like a 𝐤𝐤 𝐈𝐧 or something like that on it. Lil Baby he's one of the new ninjas, and you know how I feel about the new ninjas. So Little Baby was so on the track. I don't really care for it. I wish he would have put someone else. In the Bible, that song I wanted to pretty much skip. I wasn't for me. I felt like that was more of like a Donda track. I don't understand where he was going with that. I guess it was supposed to be, Lil Durk. I don't know. I was so on that song. The Love All song with Jay-Z, I felt like was decent. I felt like that was okay. You're bringing me some classic like Bang and Drake, good Jay-Z verse. I felt okay about that song. Fair Trade, I felt was also decent. I like Travis Scott, although I will say the track that Travis Scott had with Drake on his album was 1,000 times better than the Drake song with Travis Scott on Drake's album. But and then to just hurry through the list, Way Too Sexy featuring Future and Young Thug. I think Future is just, I don't understand why people like Future. You want to use the word misogynistic, that's the person to use it on. And Young Thug, really, like of all the new artists, Young Thug was the best choice you had, Drake. TSU, don't even remember it. Couldn't have been that great. In Too Deep. Oh my God, this song crushed my heart and my dreams, you guys. You don't even. Okay, let me just talk about this. In Too Deep, I was ready for a damn good song. The title In Too Deep sounded like it was about to rock, be great. I was about to be feeling this track. It came on, and to my ear's surprise, I hear one of the most favorite beats of my life, the Get Throwed beat by Bun B and Pimp C. And I got so hyped. I was like, yes, oh my gosh, he slowed it down a little bit. Like, oh, I like the way this is sounding. And then fail. The song was trash. He literally could have done so much with that Get Throw beat. That song should have been about like smoking, chilling, kicking back, something sexy, a pretty young thing. I mean, it could have been about cruising the streets, doing this. The song disappointed me to my inner core. I almost cried, you guys. I was so upset that Drake. I felt like that song should have been like a November 18th or like a Houston, Atlanta, Vegas or something. Give me those vibes. Like those vibes should have been on In Too Deep, and it just was lost. And then the fact that he put Future on it, I mean, should we add another hole to the head? I mean, good Lord, do not put Future on a Bum B Pimp C beat. Oh! I can't, you guys. So then from then on, of course, my heart was crushed, and I was like, Drake, if you don't bring me something. So we go to Pipe Down. I didn't really care for it. The rest of the songs on here, no friends in the industry, I thought was decent. Okay, I can jam to that. It's okay. It's okay. It's not bad. So let's go to the next track list if we can. My producers are going to flip the page. We're going to go to the next, the last of the list. You guys, I just can't with Drake. I'm sure he will flip the page. Eventually he'll flip the page. And I think there was one song with featured with a woman that I actually liked that wasn't Nicki Minaj. He had I think one or two more featured artists that I didn't like. But it doesn't even matter if we don't flip the page. At the end of the day, I was very disappointed in this Drake album. I understand it was supposed to be slow. I understand Certified Lover Boy. It was supposed to be that way. However, I felt he could have made an album that was slow, that was sexy, that proved he was a certified lover boy, but that still kept true to some of his same roots. I mean, you can switch it up and change it and be different, but you got to stay true to your. And one question I asked myself was Noah on this? And I think Noah is AKA 40, I believe. And 40 is the one who makes his beats. And if you're a Drake fan, you know that 40 has been sick for a long time. I believe he has like MS or something very, very dangerous that he's suffering from. And I wondered if he was too sick to produce some of the tracks on this album. And maybe that's why I couldn't connect with it as much as I can connect with a lot of the other Drake albums, like the Take Care album and like October's Very Own, and like some of those other older albums that were really, really good. I thought maybe 40 wasn't on this list of songs nearly as often or as much as he was on the other ones, and maybe that's why. But I don't know, guys. Tell me what you think. Are you also a huge Drake fan? Were you also disappointed by the Certified Lover Boy album? Let me know. Please drop me some comments and let me know what you think about my opinion. Tell me if you think I'm absolutely insane crazy and if I'm missing out on a great Drake album, because guys, I can name you Drake songs that I love for days, and he wasn't bringing me that heat on this album. I can tell you that much right now. All right, we are going to move on to the final and last story of the day. And guys, this one is just shameful, if I'm being really honest with you. Earlier this week, they have announced that CBS, as a matter of fact, has announced that they are going to be putting out a new show, and it's going to be called The Activist. And CBS has signed on Usher, amongst the others you see there, including Julianne Hough, to host and judge a global citizen competition. And this is going to premiere in late October. Now, let me tell you the issues that myself and other people around the internet are having with this quote unquote global citizen competition. It's supposed to be called The Activist, and it's going to feature 6 inspiring activists teamed with 3 high-profile public figures working together to bring meaningful change to one of 3 vitally important world causes: health, education, and environment. And apparently these activists are going to go head to head in challenges to promote their causes, with their successes being measured by online engagement, social metrics, and the host's input. It goes on to say that the 3 teams have one ultimate goal: to create impactful movements that amplify their message, drive action, and advance them to the G20 summit in Rome, Italy, according to Deadline. And there they will meet with world leaders in hope of securing funding and awareness for their causes. So let me get this straight. Basically, CBS got Usher and said, get a couple other celebrities together, and we're going to pick out activists, which my question is, how and where are they finding these activists? And they're going to make them compete. So instead of using all the money and the resources and the notoriety and everything of Usher and CBS and just helping all activists and reaching out to all of these activists and making a major event out of it, instead, they want to make it a competition and put the activists against each other to see who can raise the most money, awareness, and notoriety as an activist towards your cause. But why are all causes worthy? I don't understand why we would put people in competition against each other for a good cause. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. And you would think with a major news production like CBS and with a huge celebrity like Usher and like even Julianne Hough, and I'm sorry, not only do I not know that middle lady, but I don't know how to pronounce her name either. Whoever she is, she's apparently famous in her own right. And you can't take these 3 celebrity judges and have them team up with these three activist teams to actually make good and not put them in competition with each other? Why not? It just doesn't make any sense. I think it's ridiculous. And I'm not the only one. I think a lot of people are upset about this. We have a comment coming in. Sounds like Trump's apprentice show NBC. Yeah, exactly. It does. The only difference between this one and Trump's apprentice show is on that one, it was just every man for himself trying to get a job. And here, these are actual causes with people who need money for like homes and education and poverty and food. And instead of just being a celebrity and reaching out a hand and seeing what causes you can get yourself involved in, they're like, okay, well, why don't you compete and let's see who can do this the best. I mean, it just puts a bad taste in my mouth, and I think a lot of others too, because the internet was not having it. As soon as they released the details surrounding the activist show, a lot of people on social media criticized the show. They talked about them being tone deaf in the era of celebrity activism, and just basically talked about how they are, not having their heads wrapped around what's happening in the times right now. And I totally agree. I just think it's not going to be popular. It's very distasteful. And as much money, like I said, and resources and networking as all these celebrities and these huge networks have, please don't with this crap. Like, put your money and your resources together and actually help people. Don't pin them up to compete for help against each other. And so that's my opinion. You guys, let me know what you think. Drop some comments for me. Once again, we have another comment coming in saying that's crazy. Yes, I agree. It's insane. Once again, the little guy over here just trying to survive. And they're like, oh, we're swimming in our bathtub of millions. What's that? You want some help and some money? Well, why don't you just compete for it? I mean, it's just really ridiculous. So please tell me what you think. Drop me some comments. We have another comment coming in. Angie says it was a celebrity panel and celebrities raising most of the money for the causes on the Celebrity Apprentice, and they were stealing show ideas. That may be true too. There very well may have been some money that was donated and celebrities raising money for causes. But at the end of the day, they were also competing to get a job. And the reason why I know that is because I actually watched The Apprentice for some years. And this is crazy about The Apprentice. We actually watched The Apprentice in class in high school as like a leadership, like, lesson, so on and so forth. And it's so crazy to look now and be like, oh my God, I can't believe Donald Trump was freaking president, especially after you've seen The Apprentice. But yes, Angie girl, I agree with you 100%. I think that is very similar to The Apprentice, and I think that it's distasteful and it is not cool, especially when you're talking about activism. These are activists, are people that are trying to go out and do good things for a greater good and a greater cause. And when you're going out trying to do this for notoriety, to be on TV, to compete, and to say my activism and the cause that I'm going for is better than yours, that's where it's just, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to choose between feeding a starving child and, a starving adult. Both of them are bad. We need to feed all people. It's not, one versus the other. So once again, guys, let me know what you think. Will you be tuning into The Activists? I would like to know if you'll be tuning in. The culture creators say that they are trying to profit when we need to be making changes. And yes, I agree 100%. And Usher should be ashamed of himself. Like, what do you guys think of this? Oh, and one little thing while we're mentioning Usher, I just want to bring this up. Usher's been causing a little bit of controversy. For those of you who know, I'm located here in the lovely Las Vegas, Nevada. And Usher has a residency here where he lives and also performs out on the strip. And one of his acts of his performances has been to have Usher money printed, dollar bills with Usher's face on them. But they look very similar to real dollar bills, other than the fact that obviously it's Usher's face. But obviously the money's green. So it looks similar to real money. Well, that money, that Usher money, he's been throwing it out at all of his concerts here on the Las Vegas Strip, and it is causing some controversy in Las Vegas. People are taking that Usher money and they're actually trying to spend it on the Strip, in the casinos and the bars and the restaurants. It's been circulating around Las Vegas, causing mayhem for a lot of the authorities to try to figure out who, telling people not to take it on accident. Make sure you check your bills. So Usher is already causing all kinds kinds of problems for Las Vegas right now. And Usher, I don't think this is going to be a good look for you for doing this activist show. Drop me your comments. Let me know what you think. Is Usher in the wrong for this? I think that he needs to take a step back, reevaluate, look at himself. Don't pull a Kim Kardashian, Usher. You're better than that. Come on, let's think about this now. You can do better. So let me know what you think. Drop me your comments, and we'll always feature your comments right here on the show. So make sure you get those into me. That's about it, guys. That about wraps it up for the day. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed the culture update for the week. If you have stories that you would like me to talk about, things that are happening in your neck of the woods that are affecting the Black community, please hit me up in my DMs, hit up the culture creators, drop us a comment, a DM, anything, and let us know what you want to hear right here on the show. And I will be sure to research and look it up for you and get it out there. We will check you guys again next week. Make sure you guys subscribe to the culture creators. And thank you once again for joining me. It's been fun, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.